So I got the production version of our app up. Let me show you. Um, it's not Dreamcatcher.land. For the very first time in history, Dreamcatcher.ai has a site behind it. This is the. It was actually a pain to get the logins and stuff sorted, but you can click on here, login, sign up, Google GitHub, or any of the Ethereum wallets. And I just got to say, when you look at MetaMask, to make it on the list of available auth providers when every other auth provider is a multi-billion-dollar market cap company, that's pretty good for crypto. Logging in, and then all the stuff. Okay, and what did I do? I made the buttons not.
What was that install? I tried installing it. And
it installs a progressive web app which lets you run offline because some of the model providers are offline providers like Olama, and so you can use the site offline. I added Anthropic and Grok into the mix here, and I haven't figured out how to make it the default across the list, but please do make sure that you've got this use responses API specification turned on, because that's what lets you see the thinking in the thinking models like O4 and.
Let me just. I'm on the site at the moment, so let me just do that. Check. Where is it?
So account. No, AI service provider.
I see it. Yeah.
OpenAI. And everyone's free to add their own keys. Like, we're not really gonna stop you from doing that, but
yeah. So use response API is now on. Okay.
Cool. So yeah, the icons down here, economy, contacts, I'm questioning, but basically everything's branded now. So the GitHub link goes to our thing. The manual, for now, the manual just goes to the old site. That should be one of these chats that open up. Like, it should haul you into a chat with the help assistant loaded up with the frame to navigate the help system, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I want to reiterate what you were saying about how settings should be a chat too. Absolutely agree. As well as like the changelog should be a chat. So you just can ask it, hey, what changed? And the assistant would know what you had asked last about the changelog, and so that's how it would be able to give you like a compressed changelog of everything since the last time you asked, which is more important than when the developer made a change.
Yeah, it seems as a paradigm, everything is a chat.
Everything's a chat. Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I've been using this as the daily driver, and it's going really good. The thing that we got to do is go through and see, like, I mean, how do we get to the atomic printer stage? Like, it's still it's a little bit gappy. Like, there's some. I can't see the whole picture. I can't see that it's all gonna be doable in this interface, and it might not be. But I just wanted to go over some of the problems that are, or the scenarios that we need to deal with, like how does a company use it when they've got staff? How do these like enterprise apps end up being installed on the instance and run? All those kinds of, like, they're very practical things, but they sort of I feel like they need to be settled or theorized so that we don't push along a path that needs to be ripped up.
Yeah, I agree.
So, how to do?
How about we take one as a traceability? The translation one seems to be quite fruitful.
Okay.
Well, mostly because since our call, been working on that, so can talk to it.
Okay.
Haven't been doing anything on the OSINT since we talked.
Okay.
But few observations. I seem to be flipping between models quite often, which is quite interesting.
Right. So, I mean, that's where you'd want to make a new assistant and then set the assistant with a different model. So that you could. No?
I was flipping it mid-thread.
Mid-thread. Oh, that's wild.
So I was going, if I want just a quick question, flip it to 4.0 mini. If I wanted to think a bit more, go to 03. If I wanted something exact, flip to Grok. I'm doing this all in the same thread.
Are there any issues that you spotted with the interface so far?
No.
It's pretty solid, eh?
It's pretty solid. I mean,
what about performance?
Not everything's wired up.
Oh yeah.
Ignoring the stuff that's not wired up, it seems pretty solid.
So the stuff not wired up, by that you mean discovery, Stux, economy, contacts, and agentic chats.
Yeah, the only thing that's really been a bit grinding is when you get to a point in a thread and you go, yeah, that's good. So, for example, I was generating a prompt. Got to a nice prompt in a thread, and it's like, right, I would like that now to be a system prompt in a new assistant. And then I had to do the whole kind of cut and paste thing.
So what you really want is you would be like, okay, now make that a system prompt for a new assistant.
Yeah.
Right?
And take me to that assistant. It's like, okay, let's try it out.
Right. And that would become a tool call where the tool had the power to produce assistants. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that all sounds like it sounds like stuff that can be done, and it sounds like nuance or detail work within the platform. And there's a mountain of that stuff coming, but I don't know how to prioritize it, because I want those things too, because some of them, like how much time should we spend sharpening the saw versus cutting the tree? Some of those things, all of those things I want, and yet I'm like, I need to. I can still hear you. I can still hear you. It's always you. I mean, I'm luckily. Huh. You still there? It might have been everyone.
And you're back. Sorry, you just froze there for about 30 seconds.
Is it me that has network problems? I don't understand how that could be.
It could be me. I don't know. It's difficult to tell.
It could also be this Hocus Workrooms thing that we're using.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've not seen any network connectivity problems here for, well, I think this last week I had some, but I just reset it.
We don't really get those here. I mean, this is like a gigabit fiber line that, in my experience, has never gone down or hasn't ever missed a beat. yay for government spending. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've been using it all this morning, and nothing's happened.
Yeah,
So
it's quite likely workrooms. I mean, who knows? Yeah, so adding in those tools, I mean, once we have tools added, what you're asking for sounds very simple, actually. So
yeah.
we can
The
do
other
that.
the other big thing is so very similar. In a thread, you get an output and go, I want to stash that somewhere. And so
I'll like save it as a point of note.
right. And it probably is a file in a folder
Oh, that's where
somewhere.
you want like a librarian, that where it knows about how to file different things better than like it sort of pays. It's like, now what do we got here? We've got a chat. What's it about? Okay, I should cut it in half here and here. I should put this bit here,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so again, those are utilities on the platform, sugar, as it were.
Yep.
How are you feeling about these buttons still?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Repos.
once it all wired up, I'm waiting with bated breath for repos, because repos is going to be probably the thing that unlocks most.
Repos should be tomorrow. Hooking it up to the context might be tomorrow. But that's, I guess, I think I got blindsided a bit by or sucked down a rabbit hole with getting the production version up, because that involved like a lot of like API key generating and filling in forms and generating OAuth credentials and generally dicking around, and then getting it branded. Like, I was very keen to get it branded correctly. I think we got that. Maybe that's not that important, but I just felt like it's confusing when someone lands and then they're like taken to a whole nother site, and they're like, what the fuck is even going on here?
Yeah, you think you've been fished, or
Yeah. So I was pretty keen for all that. I was showing someone it today. Like, it has made me feel immensely better having an actual platform up and standing, and I'm like, phew, that's good. I was showing someone today, and I showed them on their phone, and then I was like, oh, I guess it's not clear what you're supposed to do. It's like every single advanced AI model on the planet is in this page, but it is not clear what you are supposed to do with it. So that's sort of reasonable. Where would I go to search for people?
Well, it feels like that's contacts, but you've got questions.
Discover. Isn't Discover discovering everything, including people?
People are equivalent to
people are agents.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So contacts is kind of a dumb. Contacts I should delete, right? Because really, agentic chats is probably what that is.
Yeah. The how do you send over an invite?
Well, I was gonna just make us all public, where your profile shows up in the everyone thing, because I can add privacy later, but then you just search through that list, and then you add the person, start the message.
That would do for now, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So really, contacts should probably go, right? Like, what is it even for?
Well, I kind of agree. So what I want to be able to do is do what we did with HAL. Take this link and send it to someone.
Oh, right.
Clicks on the link, and now they've got access to that thread. That's
right, but is that the same? Like, would you be able to achieve the same thing if you were just simply like, here's an invite link to the chat, as opposed to here is the chat, because
Yeah.
what was happening with Howl was that if you had the link, you could join the chat, but that's not really what I think you generally want. You want
I'd expect them to be identified, because one of the problems with HAL is we couldn't actually see who was using it. There's
Right.
a login loop, and so having an invite link that puts you through the login, and then once you're logged in, you're identified and you're in the chat
Yeah.
that you've just been invited to.
So the link is an invite.
Or a share. I've not tried shares. I don't know
Well,
if
yeah, because
that's-
you can do like a share, and then you can view the chat, and then a share, and then you can continue the chat in private, or you could do a share where now it's an invite to the chat, the live chat. I feel like you should have to knock on the door a bit, because like in WhatsApp, you can share a link to get you into a group, but you can't join a group from the outside. Someone inside has to add you.
Yeah.
That's the basic rule of it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, it seems to me like that rule is perfectly fine here, because what you were getting out of the sharing the link was that you could both see what was going on and both talk to the bot. But if I simply said you got to sign up to the platform, and then you got to discover each other and have a group chat, or invite the person into the chat using the platform, doesn't that achieve the same goal?
It does, and it's also nicer.
It is nicer. I put that forwards because that type of operation, once you're on platform, is something you need, whereas the description of the shared invite thing is something you might need it later, but it's not a minimum thing. Like,
Yes,
that's a
I agree.
luxury thing.
So effectively, I want to take a thread and have someone else access that thread and see what's been going on.
Right, but do you want them to be, because you should be able to just give it to them to interrogate like it was data, as opposed to joining it. You know, like,
Oh,
you should be able to
that's
share
too
it
good.
within a thread.
That's kind of read and write rules. Isn't it?
No, that's about whether it's in a transclude or whether it's what you participate in.
I see.
Like, are you in it or are you above it?
I was also thinking about you can. Well, I guess that's a transclude. You come into a thread and you don't piss over someone else's thread, but you can ask questions a way of, okay, so give me a summary of what's been going down.
It's almost like you need a way to analyze a thread, which is a separate tool. It's like an assistant that's armed with a frame that can load up a chat in the state board, and then you can ask questions about parts of the chat. You can analyze it, and you can chat about the chat. You could carry it on in this sort of special, it's like a workbench for chats.
Yeah, right.
Like
exactly.
the chalk or the mechanics hoist.
Yeah, that's what's meant by read. It's not quite read because you can still interact with it, but you're not
Analyze. You dissect it. You can come at it with tooling.
Yeah, and you're not polluting the original thread.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, well, that seems doable, but again, pardon me, but it doesn't seem like that's the most immediate thing to make.
No, it would be definitely not higher than transcludes and repos.
I had a bit of a realization today that I was very keen to share with you, actually. In that how the so here we've got this browser, and then we've got and do apologize for jumping around. If you can't tell, I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing because there's a lot of things to do, and I'm not sure what the next one is. But the architecture was that right now we have this like pretty decent sized server side thing, right, where it's running all the functions, all the code. It's running it around the world. It's got caching. It's got all this crazy stuff, right? And then it's also got this Postgres database in there. And I'd always been opposed to databases because they weren't transportable. But then today I realized that pretty much 100% of the time, all the things I've ever been trying to do with Artifact is about the present commit. Like the present commit is by far the dominant thing that you want to have access to, right? And then when I think about, so this is server-side stuff, and I expect vast server-side stuff to be under my control. I expect, so they've got this new feature they added, which was sandboxes, which can fire up a little Docker container for your app, so you can run isolated code and all that. So I expect the server side to do extraordinary things for me, but I expect to, if I so choose, to be able to run the software on my own hardware and have it do it too. And so coming at it from that angle, the way that LobeChat has dealt with that balance of power, so to speak, is that when in their desktop application, they run the equivalent of this server infrastructure as a server on the desktop computer, and then they render the browser page interacting with this local server. And so in a way, you could think of the server side as just an extension of the browser. And so the browser needs to stay strictly as the viewer, or simply the remote session, the terminal of the compute, but the compute should be able to be portable and moved around, right? And so from taking that angle, I was like, maybe I'm looking at a database wrong. Maybe if I had Git, like I was trying to make Git also be a performant database so that you could do queries and all those things in a way that was acceptable to a user. And I was trying to do it so that it would be tolerant of disconnected networking. Those are kind of actually three different restraints that don't actually help us in our primary goal for the ambient attribution agent. And so I could consider actually that if you had Artifact as the source of truth and you treated the database as simply a cache, then you can start doing features in the UI that databases are very good at, like rapid queries, cursoring, indexing, sorting, all these things that Artifact is maybe not that fast at doing because you've sort of got to go through this file system structure, whereas databases are like hand-tuned since forever. And so maybe I could treat a database as just simply a cache or a front-end, a view creating tool. And so...
I think that follows. And again, with the caveat that I'd love to be able to stash or save to a file, hopefully get an AI to say, or to decide where.
Oh yeah, you could. But what I'm saying is that the back-end gymnastics that the server has to do to give you that in a meaningful, quick way, like if that particular agent suddenly decides it wants to read thousands of your files all at once, there's some performance tuning to be had. And so treating the treating Artifact as a source of truth, and in using databases as effectively a cache, so you can sit it in front of Artifact and do lots of fancy stuff in a high performant way, you're kind of back at the present day performance of database driven apps, but you haven't lost the portability, because you could blow away the database at any point and then rebuild it off of Artifact.
Well, that's true. That's true.
And that's really the realization that I was wanting to get across here, is that even though we've moved to this world where we've got this server-side installation, so long as we're able to prove that we can still run it on a local machine, it's still not, we haven't painted ourselves into a corner where we can't reach dark edge from. And furthermore, in the internals of Git, they do a hell of a lot of optimization and building indexes akin to a database, so that some of the operations that are naively hard become very quick, because they have like Bloom filters and commit bitmaps, and they got all these fancy things that people have added in to give performance. But really all we're saying is that we just put a straight up conventional database in front of it, and that's the cache. That's how Git gets high performance for applications.
Yeah. Similar to, I guess, how a kind of standard model you would have. You'd have your running instance, and then you've got your disk with your files,
Right.
repos. So it doesn't feel wrong.
No, I guess it's just a different way for me to think about it, because I realized that things like the ORMs, object relational mapping tooling, carries an incredible amount of human knowledge in it, where the ergonomics of working with the fundamentals of information technology have been encapsulated in these really quite tidy, neat, fluent, natural, well-documented, well-understood, and hard to shoot your feet off abstractions that make programming quite easy, and have been refined to be that way over many years. And so we should take advantage of that, because I burned a lot of time trying to figure out data structures for how to store data on Artifact in a way that was minimally. So databases have a write amplification factor, which is like the amount of wasted writes that are required to do a single payload write. And I needed to keep the WAF down. I needed to keep the read performance up. I needed to keep the retrieval time good. I needed to make it work in a browser, all that. And so there's some quite onerous requirements there. But I think the folly was trying to make Artifact do it all, when for the sake of a bit of extra RAM and some spare disk, I could just put a database in front of it and use all that logic, all that mental language of database tables and schemas and things. And sure, I've got a mapping to files and folders, but it doesn't need to bear the burden of performance. It just needs to carry the integrity and the structure, and then the performance is dealt with by the database.
Yeah, that makes sense. So long as there's a way of, I was saying, stashing.
Yeah,
That last result was great. I want to stash
absolutely.
that
Like
somewhere.
you wouldn't know that you weren't on Artifact Raw, except for the fact that the performance is epic, and I don't have to work hard to get it. So we can get this, like, sure, I'd love to do away with databases, but maybe now's not the time. Like, we actually have bigger problems, and a database can get us over, because people don't want to use this system if it performs less than what they used to. Like, that's how little they value data sovereignty. Like, if you need data sovereignty, you are gonna give the earth to have it, but the majority of people really don't. Like, if it performed even slightly worse, they'd reject it.
So what data would be cached as opposed to stashed?
All of it.
So say if I had
So I'd
two
fire up a
threads.
repo, and the first thing I'd do is read the whole repo and
Mhm.
put it in the database cache. And then
Right,
any
and-
reads you want to do from it come out of the database cache, and it's keyed by commit. So in the database, this commit has these tables or these files or whatever.
So in a session, if you're to save something to the repo, so
Right.
stash it, you'd have to update the cache.
Yeah, it passes through. So you write it, and it's simultaneously written to Artifact and the database. It's not considered done until it's written into Artifact.
That seems perfectly reasonable. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I think it shortcuts a lot of my pain over the years to actually make it work in a performant way. I've literally spent years, and it seems stupid in hindsight, but only because I didn't know. I knew that we couldn't get, like, you can't go backwards and be self-sovereign. You can't go from database land happy and fat to Dark Edge. You can't go that way. And I didn't have a path to get there, but I've seen it now with this ability to tap at just the right spot in the Postgres database, and I can see the relationship between tables, schema, and files and folders.
Yeah.
And now I'm confident that we can make use of maybe 80% of the SQL world and still have a path back to Dark Edge, and in fact make them be compatible. They aid each other in a way, and all that it's really cost is a bit more CPU and a bit more disk, but who cares? Time is more valuable than either of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Yeah, so that's my realization. And what that means is we can now start building apps that look like they use a database, which is fucking everything, and we can start porting things over that use a database because we have a database. We're like, this is the database. Hit it. And it just so happens that Artifact is hooked in the back there. And then you can still portably move it around because you don't need to. Your cache database can be one big fuck off thing if you're a hoster, but when someone wants to move, you just give them the Artifact repo, and you blank your cache, pass them the repo, and off they go. And then the next guy rebuilds that cache, and off they go too. So the issue with the central database is you can't give every single person their own database, and how can you have a self-sovereign system if everyone's stuff is all smushed together in this one incestuous heap?
Yeah.
And yet the databases aren't made to give me a dedicated database, but Git is very good at that. So it's also wonderful at being transported and maintaining integrity. So I think that's the right balance to strike. And it's thanks to this LobeChat project that I've realized that you can actually make these compromises and we don't lose the path to Dark Edge.
Yeah, I agree. Makes sense.
Right. So Dark Edge is still the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah.
But how does Dark Edge relate to Ambient Attribution Agent? Because like total win, balls out, everything's going great for us is Ambient Attribution Agent running on the Dark Edge blockchain.
I think ambient attribution's got to work on the canonical data only, which is non-cached.
I think you misunderstand what I was getting at with the cached or the non-cached. The cache isn't stale in the same way that a disk cache might be stale. It's just simply another way of representing the state of the commit. So it's all still got the same it's not. There's no danger of data loss or cache drift.
Yeah, I'm thinking about sharing because ambient attribution might need to crawl through, or will need to crawl through a number of different repos. Look at
Right,
history.
but all the database is giving is just a cheap way to read very quickly. I don't believe that if it's designed right, I don't think you'll have data losses or corruptions.
Yeah, so is it true and faster representation of
Yeah.
The repo?
True and fast, but cost you some disk and CPU.
Right. No, a question. My answer. A discussion around ambient attribution is ambient attribution has to, after the fact, go back through and see what's happened to what.
Like it needs history, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can think of ways that the database cache can be also used to hold history, and it does cache eviction over time. And so when ambient attribution goes to crawl the history, it would be hitting the cache, you get a cache miss, so then it would go to the artifact, and which would pull it in and now populate the cache and give you the answer.
Yeah, okay, that would work. Yeah, because it's a true and right representation anyway.
Yeah. So is that right though, that our number one goal is ambient attribution at the dark edge?
Well, just ambient attribution full stop.
Right, but it seems like we keep getting tangled up, that you can't really have true ambient attribution unless it's dark edge capable, because dark edge means it's sovereign, self-sovereign. And it's not really a trustworthy system if it isn't self-sovereign. And so dark edge becomes this oddly integral part of the full fat version of the ambient attribution agent. Is that right?
Let me think. So ambient attribution requires history.
Yeah.
And it also needs to perform functions such as, well, okay, given this history, what was the impact based on additional metrics? If you don't have dark edge, what's the opposite of dark edge? White edge?
The opposite of dark edge is centralized servers.
Yeah. So if you were to centralize the entire thing,
centralized internet servers.
Yeah. Then,
data centers, I guess, is the opposite of dark edge. Data centers.
Yeah. We kind of lose. We'd lose way too much if we went that way. I'm not saying we do, but I'm just trying to see if dark edge is fundamental.
I don't know why. Like it, yeah. It just it kind of is, but then I'm always like, why? I know it's important to me, and I'm just trying to be careful that I'm not conflating several things I want, which can block me from getting any of the things I want.
Yeah. It's ambient attribution. If it wasn't dark edge, it would lose out any interactions between uniquely data sovereign entities.
Or, well, no, it would lose out on interactions between distrusting entities.
Yes.
If you distrust the data center owner, then you don't want to play.
Right. But if you had two people running their own data sovereign things and you wanted to work out ambient attribution between the two of them.
Yeah. It's just dignity. Like, it just gives you dignity rather than being a slave to this data center.
is also what is being asked for a lot. I think it might be. You could probably get away with it, but
All right. Well, I guess so. So I mean, you can tell me to stop or dial it back, but I think that it's important to hold the path to be able to demonstrate Dark Edge the whole way along. Like, we shouldn't make a move where we can't say that from here we can definitely make these 2 steps and then we're at Dark Edge. And now that I can do this trick with SQL, that's a much broader, much more well-lit path for us to walk down.
yeah,
And we can lean on a lot of wisdom, a lot of accepted knowledge.
And of course, the cache is there for any entity, whether it's human or agent. And attribution, being an agent itself, would build up its own cache with access to the appropriate repos at the Dark Edge. It wouldn't actually care where it was, to be honest.
No, because it's hash-based, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, that my intention is to never separate the cache from the repo. They're meant to be, you can't have a cache without a repo backing it, because what if you got a cache miss?
Say if an attribution run would be building up its own repo. It's going, okay, so here's the evidence available to anyone to audit after the fact or anything like that. Here's what I think. So it's going to be building up its own repo and therefore its own cache, but that repo will be pulling information from numerous repos which showed, effort in this area. Yep, we've been using that from this repo, effort, multiple repo efforts, but the agent itself is going to be building up a repo. Is that right?
Yes, but the agent would be building up its reference, or its references would be in the form of transclusions that pointed to objects from other repos.
Yeah. But it would also have its own cache.
Right.
Cache.
I think you're over indexing on the cache, because
well, actually,
it's just an it's just an implementation detail for optimization.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, I mean, you can pretty much ignore the cache. The cache is just there.
Yeah, or it's not. You can run without it, and it'll just be slow. What I'm trying to get at is that for the system to be of any use, it needs to perform at a comparable rate to what people already have, because nobody's going to really eat shit in a corporate environment with something super slow and clunky just to be able to say, well, at least the data's mine. It's just not worth it. And so what I'm relieved about is that the performance burden can be relieved from me, and the design burden and the compatibility burden. I'm like, well, it's just SQL.
Yeah. What I was getting at there was your question about whether it has an impact on attribution, and it doesn't, because I think the attribution run itself builds a repo of its evidence for some kind of payment event, for example, and therefore reverts to exactly the same model.
Okay, so
attribution is just another agent. I mean, each repo has an agent, and each agent has a repo.
No, not necessarily. If you're a particular type of repo, you're an agent. If you're the type of repo that's equivalent to a human user, then you're an agent. But otherwise, you're just a regular repo.
Yeah, but you want to be able to talk to the repo.
No, you want to be able to talk to an assistant that can read from the repo and write to the repo. That's different.
Okay. It sounds very similar in that.
Well, yeah, but you're trying to say that the repo is an agent, but it's not. It's you can be presented with an agent that has access to the repo, but that doesn't mean that the repo has to be an agent or an assistant.
Sure. I mean, it could just be just file and folder structure. But an idea that we were talking about yesterday, which I'm very keen on, is every repo has an assistant you can talk to about that repo.
Yeah. But that doesn't. The key is that it shouldn't alter the contents of the repo just to talk about it. Yes. So the assistant is running in your repo with, all these chats, and it's reading from the repo in question, but it shouldn't ever cause a write to the repo just to have a chat with that repo or a chat about that repo, to be more specific.
Yes, exactly. If it's read, then you don't need to do it. If you want to stash something in the repo, then sure, you'll write it.
So I need to get tool calls going as part of the main path, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to get group chat going, and I need to get Stux going.
Yeah.
Is that it?
With repos, of course, comes transcludes.
Oh yeah, sorry. With transcludes, yep.
Yeah.
That's basically it, eh? Like some days I'm like, oh my god, there's so much, and then I'm like, nope, there's hardly anything.
I'm so looking forward to repos and transcludes.
I'm sorry, Patty, you've been hanging out for such a long time too. Right, but
well, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
I was clicking around. I found knowledge base.
Right.
And couldn't seem to get it to do anything.
Nah, I disabled parts of it, and I'm about to gut it. Knowledge base is not going to be a thing in our version.
Right. Yeah.
So what? How can we get some of these advanced features? Like, how would Tfue use this?
They'd use it as a project management tool. Probably have a separate repo for each of the sub projects. Have one coordinating repo. Use threads as a medium to talk about where they're at. That didn't involve having to contact someone directly. You just say, hey, this is what I've been doing. Have a look.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't have to bother them. And the one thing that probably would fall down on is the point where they start manufacturing stuff.
Okay, that's great. Let's talk about that.
So as soon as they manufacture something, it's like where you're kind of moving out of the virtual world at that point, aren't you? So
are you though? Because you still got like ID numbers. You got sensors on the devices that need to have their data streams managed. Like this modern warfare thing is going to cause a data shock. Like, where you going to put it all, and can you afford to delete any of it where people were being killed?
Well, also everything down to the video streams. Ukraine started giving rewards to guys who capture video streams from drones.
Right.
You get a few extra $100 or whatever it is
Right.
for saving your data and then sending it back because
Right.
they're using that to train the AIs.
Right. Right. So
So yeah, I mean, you'd be silly to delete any data when data is necessary to train AIs.
I don't know what the fuck it is I'm missing. Like it just feels like there's a chunk missing, but I'm not sure what it is.
Missing to do what?
Well, because we want to get to ambient attribution, right? I don't have a clear picture of what that looks like. I think I end up like because we've got the economy assistant, where an assistant is not an agent, but the assistant can query the agent, and then how do you interrogate the work? Because we need a way to be able to trace, debug, recorrect, course correct these assistants and these agents when they have these long horizon tasks and they need to interact with each other. And so you can guarantee that the big guys are going to put out stuff that does that, which sort of makes me a bit queasy because I'm like, we're sort of expending effort to try and solve that thing when these guys are going to do like way more thinking and then put out something and we'll be like, oh, that's the answer. And maybe we've wasted effort. But I don't know. I'm just feeling like I can't see. I know for a fact that you and I are having a problem right now where there's so much information in our heads that it's being dropped on occasion. And I know that because when I listen back to our meetings, there's both you and I being like, oh, yeah, that's a good point, where someone else reminded someone of something that's quite critical that was, a good reason. Like how I reminded you about something about the Git repo being portable or something. And then another example is you reminded me about how ambient attribution needed the history or it couldn't work, and these are important things, which means that we're both, our working memory is full and we keep missing things, right? And so we need to get this platform up to work for us so that it can track those types of knowledge work problems. But I guess I'm just a little bit in disbelief, I guess. I'm like, is that all the tools that we need? Because I can't see how it all comes together, I guess. I can see the value of each individual thing, but I can't see how it comes together to form an ambient attribution managed network, or how it comes together to form AI companies that are running on chain. Those bits seem a little like there's a gap. It's not a big gap, but there's a something. Then jump, and then now we're in AI controlled company land. Does that make sense? I know that was a terrible explanation. Can you see the path clearly to AI controlled companies?
It feels like it's because there's two things there. Do we need any more tooling in order to make that work? And that kind of flops to the question, well, how would you use the tooling we've got to make it work?
That's the thing, right? Like, I'm not exactly sure.
And it's like, I can see this. And the work I've been doing on this translation thing is quite similar because I'm using a thread from base to do translations, and then to run through any red flags on those translations, and those red flags are involve definitions of who the characters are, and in the book, what's the background, to give context to the AI, and with that context, all of which is ultimately be stashed in a repo. It would give you the working orders and the sys prompts to a translator that checked its own work. It could run with multiple models, and I've not done it yet, but ultimately a voting logic about, well, okay, which was the best one, but also the generation of new axioms, which I think is what you're getting at, where remind each other of stuff, is the fact that our working memory in our meat brains isn't that large. We've got quite a large number of axioms or tenants saying, yes, we expect this to work, or this is actually what we're doing. All of that would be in the repo and would be a transclusion. So if we were to talk about the work that we're doing, we'd be looking at a repo with a bunch of axioms, a bunch of hypotheses, and a whole chunk of data from recordings and so on. And it would, the background agent, I would expect then to be prompted along the lines of listen to what we're saying and remind us of axioms that we've missed, or decisions that we've scrubbed around and haven't actually done anything about.
Are you saying then that we might not be able to make it to the ambient attribution agent without some logic management or some product management tooling that pulls in all the bits and pieces, reasons about how they fit together, and keeps our priorities on track, I guess?
Yes,
right.
And reminds us when, well, actually, you just contradicted yourself from 4 weeks ago. Do you want to update that axiom or not?
Right, because that's really what I'm getting at, right? I'm like, is there enough that we can get there with our poor little meat brains? And should we even? Should we just thin thread it all the way to the end and be like, that's kind of a shitty version, and now let's use the full spectrum of tools to thicken it?
Yes, absolutely, that second one, because
I guess I have to admit that my questions are irrelevant because I am afraid of getting to the end and being wrong. So I should just do it, I guess.
Yeah, that thin thread analogy is a good one, because there's getting it wrong because we're incompetent, and then there's getting it wrong because we're actually wrong.
That's the second one is what I worry about. It seems like wrong because we're incompetent means we call on our stamina to push forwards. Because in the politest way, we are incompetent. We're incompetent because we're humans.
And we've got rubbish memory buffers.
Yeah, and so, perseverance makes up for incompetence. But fundamentally wrong is... I'm
not sure there's going to be a good answer to
that. Yeah, I think I'm asking something that's actually comes down to just harden up, just be brave and see.
That's the leap of faith, isn't it?
Mm. Okay, so what we'll do then is, like, if I can get a place where agents can live, so that we can have these entities in the ecosystem or in the network that for all intents and purposes, are people, except that they're driven entirely by AIs, then that is enough to start doing the ambient attribution agent, because you can then test the agent. And so then the question, I think the gap I'm looking for or looking at is, now I need to take, so we put in all this work to make people and agents be equal in the eyes of the platform.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have the problem that we want to deeply integrate ambient attribution all throughout the platform. But ambient attribution, we have decided, comes from an agent. And so now there's like a special agent, almost like the Jesus agent, that has a very special connection to the ether, which is the platform around it. And so that's the gap I have. I'm like, you now need, you got all this stuff and you made an agent, and now you got to stuff that agent back into the platform to be a fundamental part of it.
Yeah. Is it fundamental, or is it just another agent?
Ambient attribution feels like it belongs as a non-optional piece of what we produce. If you want to strip it out and run your own network, that seems fine. But ours,
that's different. Non-optional. Yeah, that's fine. But by special, it doesn't mean it's necessarily needs any other tooling than any other agent.
okay, so it's really just, okay, so it could just be how you wire up the platform so that when any payment processing occurs, the platform queries this ambient attribution agent that's been hard-coded in as the purveyor or the balancer or the distributor of attribution.
Right.
And you just hook that into the payment system, right?
Exactly. And by doing that, the axioms become the governance of the ambient attribution agent. Its knowledge is the repos. Again, it's the same tooling. Interestingly enough, it's also the same tooling for a DAO. There's effectively ambient attribution you could consider as a DAO.
Hey, that's oh man. So you're really saying that an agent is a DAO?
Yeah.
That all DAOs are agents, in a sense, and that an agent could be considered a DAO. And so the ambient attribution agent makes the platform itself become a DAO because it's governed by a DAO. And so that which is governed by a DAO becomes a DAO too, right?
Yeah.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
So if that DAO, the ambient attribution DAO, is in charge of all the payment processing on the platform, then that makes the whole network a part of the environment or the economy that is within the DAO. It's managed by the DAO.
Yeah.
And so there's inside the DAO, which is ambient attribution managed, and then outside the DAO, which is the rest of the world, and the membrane is constantly seeking to expand, and it contracts and lets some things through and all that, right?
Right.
Okay, and so an actual DAO, again, would be an agent, but just with different rules. Could be any rules.
Yeah.
And our platform wouldn't point to just any old DAO. Our platform is hardwired to point to that DAO. But you could make your own DAO that, existed within that ambient attribution system that did plenty of other different things.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do I become one with the DAO? How do I join the DAO? How do I control the DAO, guide the DAO? How do new people come in? Like, what's the landing page of the DAO?
Well, how you control the DAO really comes down to the governance rules of the DAO. So, change to the DAO, voting rights, something, or maybe they are just set in stone and forever, and it's take or leave it. But how you interact with it is the governance. What it does is its execution behavior. The landing page of the DAO, there really isn't one, I guess.
No, because
it's separate from.
so you take
any other agent.
like this thing pops up as a landing page when you come to LobeChat. We could make one that's sort of like if you passed a link with certain parameters in it, it could land you in a chat with the DAO agent and its landing page mode on, where it's like the state board is loaded with advertisements or things to do with the DAO, like a landing page.
Exactly, but again, I'm struggling to see how that's different from doing exactly the same with any other agent. It's the same interface. You're talking to the agent, sure, so the context is completely different, but the actual layout, the tooling, exactly the same, isn't it?
So it would show up in you'd talk to it down here in agentic chats. You'd be having a chat with the toilet paper DAO.
Yeah.
Your topics would show here. You could browse the files of the toilet paper DAO.
Yep. And those files would include its own governance and axioms. And in exactly the same way as talking to any other agent. It's like, hey, random agent doing something. I don't know, maybe. Well, it's probably an assistant, but we're talking about your account. You go to your account and you get the same layout, but you're talking to your account. Okay, so now I want to talk to the ambient attribution. Same layout, but now you're talking to the ambient attribution agent. It seems identical in terms of base tooling. The only difference is governance, what the rules are, what you're asking it to do, the sysprompt, its repo of information it's drawing on, and its permissions. I think the only hard wiring that goes in is that if you use this platform, you're putting money in through the payment gateway, and it's being controlled by attribution agent, and you don't have a choice over that. Everything else is same tooling.
So economy, like I think people are expecting to come into here and have a line that looks like billing, right? So if I make it so that when you click billing, all it really does is it takes you to the economy assistant preloaded with billing information, and that's how you interact with the billing part of the platform, like enter your credit card, send us ETH, those kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
So are we talking about gutting this type of thing and turning these into chats, or is it really just that taking the philosophy that whenever you take an action to change the state of a system, of something in the system, the only thing you ever change is the current chat? And so all of these things here, logout is the only one that's special because that kicks you out the system.
Yeah, and you don't
But
need to chat. It'll be
no,
slightly
but
irritating
everything
too.
else is actually starting a chat with a specific assistant designed to help you with these things.
I think so.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
so
wouldn't that be
billing,
lovely and simple?
it would be a great simple rule. It's like that's the rule. And it also means that any agent that if we sort of gave it the right tooling to be platform aware or system aware, you could be in any chat and be like, hey, can you change my username? And it's like, oh, yeah, I've got access to the platform tools. I can now set the username. Yeah, what do you want it to be? Okay, done. And so that functionality is exposed as a tool call to every sort of major assistant. But you can also get there from navigating the conventional UI if you want.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
And by doing that, I think we'd be relieving a lot of the burden of having to figure out what does this icon do. I'm going to hover over it. I'm going to click on it. It's like, oh, okay. But then also hunt and peck.
Right. But does that mean then that we should collapse that down and really there's only one agent? Like, because you could have one assistant that dealt with all of these issues, right?
I think probably. I mean, that makes sense. So that is
That
your surface
so
to the platform is an
yeah,
agent.
yeah. So just to cover off this one, what I would do is replace this what is where my icon is or avatar when I get into the menu. That would drop me straight into a chat where the chat would start with a state board that had these items in it. And so I could check on each one and it would open it in the state board, but I could also chat about it as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the chat will allow you to do things like, well, you right now what's that? Five uh, sub menus that you have to go in, and then you got to read, and it's like, well, like we were doing.
I know it's
Um,
awful, right? It's like,
where's the little toggle button for this? I can't remember.
yeah, like it's
But
it's nothing about uh like these UI guys have done an outstanding job, but it's just simply a problem with information overload and presentation, navigation, discovery, all those the curses of information.
right,
And so if we made it to be that simple model of by default it's a chat, then it's almost like I wonder if that problem of like, well, what do I do on this platform is solved by ask it.
yeah,
Like
yeah, precisely.
like one of the starter for 10 things that we'll put in there then becomes like, what does this platform do?
Yeah,
What should I use this thing for? And then the bot starts talking to you like, well, what have other people done on this platform? It's like, well,
exactly, exactly. You
here's
could
all the
ask.
people on the
Yeah,
platform.
I would like to have my colleague look at what work I've done in this thread. Okay.
Right, right. So it starts with open-ended questions like, have you got a problem that you'd like us to solve? Do you want to know about the platform? Do you want to know how other people are solving it? How many people are on the platform? So there's a way to describe the design of a lot of the stuff that we've done without really realizing it is self-aware systems, and not self-aware like the Terminator or something or Skynet, but self-aware like they are able to access information about themselves or about how you perceive them.
Yeah.
Like it should be able to. I'll give you two simple examples. An assistant that was if we turned every single uh, configuration action that you could take within this user interface into a tool call or gave it a tool call equivalent, then an agent that had access to those tools could probe the environment for status and state and all that, and it would be, you could consider that it was fully aware of the state or the embodiment. It was aware of its own embodiment if you gave it those tools.
Yeah, and
Right.
it's not hard to think how useful that would be. Can you imagine a spreadsheet where instead of drop-down menu items, you had a state board, which was your spreadsheet, and you had a chat. So you could say, right, okay, so what I want to do is this. I'm not entirely sure how to do it.
Right.
And you
That is sort of how
Right.
Microsoft Copilot's going down the line, but the self-awareness thing is much more powerful and much more subtle. Like when you talk to ChatGPT and you're like, where are you right now? And it's like, it'll make up some shit, right? But we would give it would have tooling to be like, yeah, I know where I am. And then you ask it something like, how many buttons are down the left-hand side, right? The model right now would be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? But as,
I can't see the buttons. Yeah.
yeah, you're right. And so it's weird that I think of it as this interface, but it is not aware that that's how it looks.
Yeah.
Like it's never been given a mirror. It's not able to reflect upon itself, its own embodiment, and then give you information about that. And that's one of the big issues, or one of the reasons why we liked blockchain as a data structure so much, is because you can reflect on who you are by looking at the previous block,
Yeah.
whereas you can't really do that in a traditional database. And so making self-aware systems, so that first example was you turn all the menu items into tool calls. The second example is if you allowed a bot to receive a screenshot of the complete page constantly. And so it was always aware of what it was, and it could control the mouse cursor, like a virtual mouse cursor on the page, so it could interact with its own stuff.
Oh yeah. You can do that with the state board.
No, I mean higher, like the whole page. So
Well, I
the
was just wondering whether the left-hand set of icons is a special kind of state board that doesn't dynamically regenerate itself, but nevertheless is available in the same
like
way as
it's
the
an
state board
anchor. It's like
functions.
the anchor state board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because then it would be accessible in the same way as the state board's accessible.
No, well, I mean, I think it needs to stay there because I feel like you got to give the humans some crutch to lean on, right? Like it's too much of a leap to just go pure chat.
Oh no, you shouldn't remove it. That's not what I'm saying. Saying it is there,
Yeah.
but it's accessible by chat.
Right.
So,
Right. And so
like, take me to the
accessible by
aquarium.
chat is that you would mean I was here and I said, turn this into a stuck, and it would know to make the tool call that was the equivalent of me pushing that button.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that, yeah. So that would, yep. Okay. Okay. So again, though, that is work to strip this out and put that into that paradigm. I like that paradigm because it's a simple rule that applies to everything. And it gives you great flexibility to have the AI being able to do anything. But that feels like, again, sugar. So I'm feeling like what my work is to thin thread it all the way to the ambient attribution agent by going files and folders, transcludes, contacts, group chats, agents.
Yeah.
And once I have that, then we can regroup, right? Because I'm like, I have given you all the features and now we're going to decide that we need some more tooling, we need some more knowledge, we need some more reflection, we need something, and then we start. Like, I don't really know where to go from there, right? That's
Yeah, yeah. But then the base tooling, despite everything we've been talking about, with maybe the exception of making the left-hand column a special kind of state-board, all the tooling is exactly the same. Ambient attribution agent is the same as any other agent.
right. It's just like, it's just tweaking, thickening, tweaking. Like, I grow ever convinced that we can't. I think we got some good stuff coming, but we can't go out into the world without the ambient attribution agent to defend us, because otherwise we'll just get slaughtered by all these maggots being like, I want this money, I want that money, how about I pay you this, how about I pay you that? And we're like, you know what, fuck off. But yeah,
I've only got 3 minutes. I've got a hard stop.
All right. Well,
I felt like progress in so far as I still can't see what additional tooling we would need. Other than, I mean, there's.
I guess at some point, it's at some point real soon, it turns into all about frames, naps. It turns into the modules that you plug in as opposed to the thing itself.
Yeah, exactly. And you just named, what, 5? You could count it on one hand.
And then, and the thing we got to get going, I think, is we got to get NFTs going inside the platform, and then we'll make play money. It's just like ambient dollars or whatever, ambient attributions as a currency, and then you just play with it until we can figure out, using the platform, how we're going to register a company and produce genuine NFTs that have blockchain tracked value. Yeah,
Precisely.
Okay, well, I'll keep working.
It just seems a bit odd, doesn't it? But yeah, I still can't find anything that would.
Yeah, it seems like
You
that's it,
just
right?
haven't
Like, I've
mentioned.
demonstrated
It's like-
frames, I've demonstrated naps, I've demonstrated repos. I'm like, I think that's kind of it now.
Yeah, and then as to your question about, that what seemed like a big gap, gather underpants, do stuff, profit.
Yeah, that thing.
It's like, wow, we've got all the tools. I can see it.
Right. And the thing is, it's like, people are like, how do you make money? And I'm like, I think, actually, sorry to be facetious, but we build the platform and then use the platform to figure that out. Like, isn't that the smartest thing to do?
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely the fastest.
Yeah.
It's, working it out prior to that is just going to.
Yeah, and even if we knew, even if we had a plan or an idea, what are we going to do anyway? Like, we can't do shit until we've got the platform. So we've got to get the platform anyway. Once we have the platform, we'll have this vastly enhanced intelligence ability, which we can then use to solve the pressing problem, which is what to do.
Right. It's like Dreamcatcher's singularity at that point.
Sort of, right? Like, it lights. It's lit at that point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll leave you go, bud. But thank you very much. That it's eerie. It's like the other side of a sonic boom, and you're like,
disconcerting. Right. I'll see you on Friday then.
okay, thanks, buddy. I'll see you then.
All right. See you, man.
Bye.